John Wall's career journey has been a long path. After a trying time in Houston, the former All-Star now starts a new chapter in L.A. with the Clippers. Recently, Wall spoke candidly about his mental state while dealing with his Achilles injury and family struggles.
Darkest place I've ever been in. I mean, at one point in time, I thought about committing suicide. I mean, because tearing my Achilles, my mom being sick, my mom passing, my grandma passed a year later. All this in the midst of COVID at the same time. Me going to the chemotherapy and sitting in there, me seeing my mom take her last breath, wearing the same clothes for 3 days straight, laying on the couch beside her. You know what I mean? Like, looking at all that, and I'm like, if I can get through this, I can get through anything in life. And I don't like to brag about it, because like everybody goes through something. You know, we all went through tough times. Nobody got it easy. But I don't think a lot of people could get through what I went through. And to me to be back on top where I want to be and see the fans still want me to play, having support from my hometown, their support period means a lot. And there's a time where I had to go find a therapist. You know, a lot of people think I don't need help. I can get through it at any time, but you got to be true to yourself and find out what's best for you, and I did that.
Wow. I really respect all of that. And he said that he found a therapist, got the help, and he's stronger than ever. What's your reaction to John Wall's comments?
I was incredibly touched by what he had to say. Doggy, you know, I don't know him intimately, but John Wall and I have talked on many, many occasions over the years, not in recent years, but over the years before that. I've always been an incredible fan of his. From the standpoint, he could ball. I always thought he needed to improve on his jump shot, but he could ball. Had a lot of heart, and was a leader in the community. There were times that I felt that he was a bit sensitive, a little bit too sensitive, because you're all great when you get the praise, but not so much when you don't. But I got to tell you, when I heard this story last night, I can't wait to see him, because people like myself and a few others owe that man an apology, if we're being honest, because we didn't know. That's not to say that anything was said about him cruelly or anything that was said with malicious intent. But the fact of the matter is, it's just a reminder that you never know what people are going through. I certainly never knew any of that stuff. And the reason why the story hit with me, because Molly will tell you, obviously when I lost my mom in 2017, I had some very negative thoughts. The level of misery that I felt, and I still feel to some degree, but back then in 2017, I would tell you I went through 2-3 years where it was that way every day. And I had to go to therapy for that, because that's how miserable. I was just a miserable, miserable person. Every day that I woke up, I just missed her, and I'd start my day off crying and have to lift myself from that abyss because she was gone. And so when John Wall was explaining what he explained, it really hit home, because it was pretty close to what I had gone through. I didn't have the Achilles tear that he had. I didn't lose mama and grandma like he did. And when your career you're feeling it's in shambles, and you combine that with the devastating losses that he has suffered, I'm telling you now, the character of the guy that I've known from years. Again, we haven't spoken really in the last 2 or 3 years, but once or twice. But the character of the man that I knew that was in Washington for 9 years, that community loved that brother. And they probably always will, because he was very, very giving and very thoughtful when it came to the community at large and what have you. So him opening up and telling this story, I think is important, which is why I wanted to make sure to highlight it on today's show, because it's a reminder not of the guy who hasn't played in 2 of the last 3 seasons. It's a reminder of the guy who was once the franchise player of an NBA franchise in the Washington Wizards. And this is why Ted Leonsis and others had such faith in him, because he's got that kind of character.